Okay, nice. We will start from here. We were
जी सर.
talking about the plan the business analysis work. So in plan the business analysis work, first of all, we have got determine who plans the business analysis effort. So apportion the responsibility. As you remember, we have said that business analysis and project management jobs are sometimes done by the same person. So you have to establish who is responsible for creating this business analysis plan. One point of confusion on projects is the overlap that exists between business analysis planning and project management planning. Both are separate plans, but you remember that business analysis started much before the project started, and business analysis was more focused on the requirements, the analysis of the requirement, elicitation of the requirements, and naturally developing a business case. And therefore, the planning of business analysis was as far as the business case was created. Once the project has been approved, then we develop the project management plan. But still, there is a confusion because there are two separate plans. The confusion over who performs what work is compounded by the fact that the responsibility for business analysis planning differs across organizations. As we have already said, in different organizations, business analysis job is done in different ways. As we said, project manager sometimes is the business analyst. So in that case, project manager is going to be doing all that. But we have to clearly mark the duties of business analyst and the project manager. It differs across organizations by type of project, and by project methodology. Even within a single organization, the business analyst may be assigned to build the work breakdown structure for one project in order to define the business analysis work. Now, this is really confusing because who is responsible for creating the WBS? WBS is the responsibility of the project manager because this is the project manager's work. But still, when business analysis is being done, he has to come up with a plan how the project work will be done. Naturally, this is the prerogative of the project manager when he comes on board, that he may revise the work breakdown structure, but a general structure of business general work breakdown structure has to be imagined by the business analyst in his planning in order to define the business analysis work. And for a second project manager may interview the business analyst to obtain the needed inputs for developing that plan. So both ways, somehow they have to collaborate with each other. Even if the project manager is creating the work breakdown structure of the plan, he probably have to get in touch with the business analyst, and analyst has a lot of knowledge of the things which project manager may not have. So by consultation, project manager can learn and create that WBS. Business analysis profession is progressing, and the role has become more defined over the years. Hybrid roles, as we were discussing, like project manager oblique business analyst, positions have existed for many years and still exist in a number of organizations. As organizations have purposely split apart the responsibility into two distinct roles, the practitioners who migrated into pure business analyst positions bring with them experience in project planning. When a business analyst is adept at planning, a project manager may leverage that experience and request assistance from the business analyst. So by this, we may understand that business analyst is a more experienced person, and he has a wider perspective of the initiative of the project which is being launched, and project manager can always seek his guidance in developing whatever plans he is developing. It is not uncommon for a business analyst on a project with a predictive life cycle to draft a WBS, so this is all right, to conduct initial conversation with the project manager regarding business analysis work for the project. So we can very clearly see in this that there is a collaboration point here between the project manager and the business analyst. Planning is an area where project managers and business analysts will find that their roles overlap. Ultimately, the project manager is responsible for the project management plan and is accountable for managing all project activities. He will run the project, he will plan the project, he will conceive the project activities. So, this all is his responsibility, creating the project management plan and all. The business analyst can help support the project manager. Business analyst is not responsible for creating the project management plan, but he can always be a great help for project manager because the business analyst has expertise with the business analysis process and can provide specifics on the business analysis work that is recommended to meet project objectives. Other team members should be consulted and included in plan development to ensure their buy-in and engagement in the work. But you have very clearly seen that they have to work together, and project manager has to learn a lot from the business analyst. Next is build the business analysis work plan. The business analysis work plan is the project plan that covers the work to be performed during the business analysis process. So that means that the project plan arbitrarily created by the business analyst even before the project actually was mobilized. There was some kind of a WBS, there was some kind of a plan behind it. So the business analyst is responsible for identifying this work using all the project and environment information known to them. For example, what is the selected project life cycle, project size, known any known risks, organizational process, assets, etc. Now, it is critical that the project manager is included. If business analyst is doing this job and project manager exists, then project manager should work in collaboration with the business analyst. He should be included and involved as the business analyst lays out this work, because ultimately the business analysis work plan will be integrated within the project management plan. Any discrepancies or misalignments need to be resolved before work commences. The first step in building the plan is identifying the deliverables that the business analyst is responsible for producing. So all the deliverables which were expected at this stage will have to be checked. Yes, are you following me?
Mhm. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm.
Was there any breakage in noise in voice?
No, sir.
Okay, fine.
I can hear.
Right. So 3.5.2 is just about building the business analysis work plan. Now let us move on. Within the business analysis work plan, let us talk about identifying the deliverable. You see, all of this work which we are talking about right now is basically the project work, but business analyst is creating a base for the project manager. Now this is just to be decided who does more work. If business analyst goes into all this detail, project manager must sit with him, and naturally he is going to be taking over this plan. And if project manager is creating it, he will have to be consulting with the business analyst. For identifying the deliverables, the business analyst collects many forms of information over the course of the project, but not all information collected and documented is considered to be a project deliverable. So business analyst has a wider scope. He would be looking at many documents and deliverables, but at the same time, project manager is focused only for all the work of the project and the deliverables coming out of it. According to PMBOK, a deliverable is any unique or verifiable product result or capability to perform a service that is required to be produced to complete a process phase or project. Agendas, meeting minutes, parking lot lists, and some types of models, although necessary to organize work and perform effectively, are not required to be produced and therefore are not considered a business analysis deliverable. These items are often referred to as work products and are created in order to perform the work, but are not a promised deliverable that will be tracked and managed through the project management plan. During planning, the business analyst should think about the work product and how they will be created, stored, accessed, and used by the project team. Planning for work products is much less formal than deliverables. Now, about deliverables, on the other hand, are required and often impact the work of individuals who perform activities later on in the project life cycle. These documents are usually formatted for consistency across projects and often have an approved structure or template that the business analyst is required to use. Examples of these include, but are not limited to, a high-level requirements document, software requirements specification, user stories, business rules catalog, and a non-functional requirement list. While planning the deliverables for the project, the business analyst considers that what types of requirements will be collected and the different deliverable formats that are required to be used. Additionally, consideration is given to stakeholder requests for receiving specific types of documentation or obtaining information in certain formats or tools. The selected project lifecycle heavily influences which deliverable will be produced so as to do the same, the size and complexity of the project. So this is about identifying the deliverable, and the business analyst should consider the following when planning the business analysis documentation. What deliverable will be produced? How deliverable will be used by other team members and key stakeholders? How changes to deliverables will be managed? Required formality of the deliverables? How deliverables will be accessed and by whom? Tools that are required to produce, maintain, or store deliverables, and whether requirements will be reused on future projects. So you see, all of these points are most of these points are all about the deliverable. So naturally, business analyst is concerned about the deliverable because he has conceived this project, this change-oriented initiative, and he is planning as much as he can. So at least the deliverable is being defined in a very elaborate terms. Collaboration point here is the business analysis deliverables produced by the for the project are determined by the business analyst, but these decisions are not made independently. The business analyst solicits input from the sponsor, project manager, key stakeholders to ensure that expectations are met. The business analyst should work closely with the project manager because deliverables impact the project schedule and can create dependencies for other downstream work. So whatever are the deliverables of the business analyst work is going to ultimately impact whatever the project manager is going to be doing later. But there is association, there is a link. Then is to determine the tasks and activities. As the stakeholder and project characteristics become better understood during the planning process, the business analyst considers the business analysis work that needs to be performed in order to conduct an effective business analysis process. Please remember and understand that we are talking about the business analysis work. Now, this plan is different than the actual project management plan, but the way it is being created is exactly like a project management plan. We have a WBS, we have everything the similar way. And moreover, the second important thing is that whatever the business analyst is creating is going to be an input into the project management work, and it is going to be highly instrumental for project manager to identify his activities and all that. After agreeing on the list of deliverables that will be produced to satisfy the project objectives, the business analyst begins to define the activities required to produce them. Each deliverable requires the completion of one or more activities. The project team should work together to define the task list. Task indication is an iterative process. The business analyst may use a number of techniques to help identify a complete list. Brainstorming, decomposition modeling, interviews, lesson learned are a few of the techniques that can be used. And I hope you understand decomposition. Decomposition is breaking something down logically. So a decomposition model is an analysis model used to break down a high-level object into smaller, more discrete parts. Typical objects often analyzed with decomposition will be solution scope, organizational units, work products, processes, functions, or any other object types that can be subdivided into smaller elements. So our decomposition model is easy to produce, and the models are easily constructed and understood by the stakeholders. Decomposition models provide a way to analyze highly complex concepts because these allow for the complexity to be broken into manageable elements. The hierarchical relationships are easily portrayed through the levels. Decomposition models cannot be used to show sequence and process steps. You see, once we are decomposing something into a WBS or something like that, this is not actually how the work is going to happen. Usually, when I get students to be doing exercise or developing a WBS, I ask them specifically not to think in sequence, not to think in sequence, because when you are trying to create the WBS according to the sequence, the things are happening, then you are doing injustice to your work because WBS has absolutely nothing to do with the sequence. Your WBS should be created into whatever categories you are working on. Uh, okay, when conducting stakeholder analysis, the decomposition model is used to analyze the organization with the goals of discovering stakeholder groups. On IT projects, this type of model is helpful to break down solutions into solution components to further understand their features. Decomposition models are also referred to as decomposition diagrams. Then is determining the timing and sequence of the activities. You see, just like in project management, after we have decomposed the work, only then we can start when we have have the activities or tasks in front of us. Then is the time to sequence those activities or tasks. Timing of business analysis task is directly influenced by the selected project lifecycle. Sequencing is also influenced by a natural order because some tasks require the completion of outputs produced by other activities. So, if there is such a requirement where certain number of activities should have been completed as if the subsequent activity can be created, in that case, we have to wait for. The business analyst analyzes these factors and may consider one or more of the following when determining the sequence of activities for the work plan. For example, we have availability of resources required to perform or contribute to the work. So when we are scheduling a work to be done at a specific point in time, all the resources should be made available earlier than that. Needs of downstream recipients whose work relies on the business analysis deliverables. Relationship of project work to other work being performed within the organization. Contractual and statement of work obligations. Dependencies on training and tools to perform the business analysis work. Staffing and new hires needs and risk and complexity levels of tasks. Now, once you have done that, you have sequenced your activities. Now define the roles and responsibilities. So determine the roles and responsibilities. You remember we talked about the Rasi chart, responsibility, accountability, consult, and inform. So once we use that, we are not only defining the responsibility but also the specific roles each one of the team members would be able to create. Rasi analysis is also performed in business analysis when determining roles and responsibilities for the business analysis effort. So only for the purposes of business analysis work, we can use Rasi for also. But you remember, we definitely use Rasi in project management also. The business analyst cannot assume that everyone involved in the business analysis process knows their role or what they are accountable for. Key stakeholders must be confused when they participate on more than one project teams at a time. Stakeholders may have confusion about the roles that are assigned to them versus the roles they desire. While the RASI is used to document the role responsibilities across the team, it is also valuable to use this technique to define the role responsibilities between the project manager and the business analyst. Determining roles and responsibilities at the start of the project helps to minimize confusion and conflicts, especially in areas where responsibilities appear to overlap. So, here we have defined the roles and responsibilities and business analysis activities. What does happen? It is essential to understand who is responsible for providing requirements, who has the authority to approve requirements, who can make decisions or settle differences when they arise, and who is involved when changes to requirements are proposed. So, all the change control mechanism, as far as the requirements are concerned, is our main concern. The RASI technique can be used to facilitate sort through documents and gain approval on these decisions. In addition, the RASI can be used as a communication tool. It can be referenced throughout the business analysis work with when conflicts arise over authority and responsibility levels. Once completed, the RASI matrix can be included as part of the business analysis plan to ensure these decisions are approved and managed. We have already seen how to construct a RASI table. Again, the collaboration point is the business analyst and project manager share a common interest in ensuring that key stakeholders fully understand and agree to the roles and responsibilities they hold on a project. While the project manager is managing these expectations across the project, the business analyst is managing these expectations during the business analysis activities. So, the gambit or the scope of business analyst is bigger than the project management. Both roles have an opportunity to work together to help ensure the expectations regarding stakeholder involvement are met. Next is identification of the resources. In the previous step, we have identified the roles and responsibilities. Even in the previous step, we have determined the time and sequencing of the activities. And previous to that, we did the decomposition. So identifying the resources. The business analyst will review the planned work, determine which resources will be needed for the work, and identify any areas where resources may be over-allocated or missing. As a minimum, the business analyst needs to ensure that all functional areas impacted by the project are represented by a resource during requirements, elicitation, validation, and approval techniques. As subject matter experts are often coveted across the organization and often allocated on multiple projects, business analysis should raise any concerns obtaining commitment from resource once the resource are assigned to the project. Again, the collaboration point here, the business analyst can lend their expertise and personal insight to the project manager as they work collaboratively to deliver the optimal number of subject matter experts. Determine the optimal number of subject matter experts to engage on the business analysis activities. Business analysts may have prior experience working with key resources and specifics that influence task allocation and assignment, and that the project manager may benefit from prior to finalizing overall cost resource plan for the project. Now is the time to estimate your work. The effort. As the work plan details begin to emerge, the business analyst plays a key role in defining the number of effort required for the defined activities and deliverables. There are a number of estimation techniques that may be used to help support the estimation process. The project manager may have a preference as to which techniques are applied. To help improve the reliability of the estimate, the system analyst may seek the support of peers within the organization who have more work of experience in estimating similar projects with the industry or line of business. These resources may review proposed elements and suggest adjustments begin on their experience. Business analysts may consider consulting with a key stakeholder who will be involved in the work. Business analysis may validate estimates by reviewing the project information from last projects that used similar elicitation and analysis requirements. What all should be included in the estimate? Project size and complexity must be considered. Selected project life cycle, what is it? Amount of ambiguity surrounding the proposed solution. Number of stakeholders and stakeholder groups involved in the elicitation technique. Type of elicitation techniques being considered. Location of those involvements involved in business analysis activities, including the product development and testing resources who the business analyst will interface with. Schedule and both constraints are budget constraints are to be shared. Any known assumptions, if you have any other assumptions to consider for this charter, for this letter rejection. Formally and level of detail required for business analysis deliverable and experience level of the project team, including the business analysis team, ensuring to the project and the stakeholder participating in requirements related activities. Estimation is an iterative process. Once we estimate and then we keep estimating it according to the changing requirements. Should always be revisited as the program management and more information becomes known to the project team. For an adaptive life cycle, the analysis work may not be estimated separately, but maybe including in an overall estimate of work that will be more manageable. Then is a assemble the business analysis. Once the just a moment. जी अभी तक कोई पॉइंट?
सर एक तो वो डिलीवरेबल्स की जो बात हो रही थी उसमें जैसे वो कह रहे हैं कि पहले से डिसाइड होता है, लेकिन कभी कभी ऐसा भी होता है कि हम अपने लेवल पे उसको कर लेते हैं, मोल्ड कर लेते हैं रिक्वायरमेंट को।
जी बिल्कुल बिल्कुल ऐसा है,
तो उसमें
लेकिन
जरूरी नहीं है कि
हाँ
जी
जी
सर।
नहीं बोले।
सर जैसे जरूरी तो नहीं है कि वो मतलब कि पहले से वैसे तो मतलब एक चीज डिसाइड होती है कि कौन जो रिक्वायरमेंट्स दे रहा है, लेकिन कुछ हम रिक्वायरमेंट्स जो अपने उसमें भी हम ऑफर कर रहे होते हैं कि इसको हम ये भी दे रहे हैं और ये इस तरह भी हो सकता है।
नहीं वो तो ठीक है, लेकिन ये जो आप देंगे ये आप किसको देंगे? ये रिक्वायरमेंट जो आप
जो भी
सजेस्ट कर
हमारी
रहे हैं, कस्टमर
जो
से बात
हमारी
हो रही है ना,
जो भी
स्टेक होल्डर से बात हो
जी
रही
जी
है ना आपकी, तो स्टेक
जी
होल्डर
जी
को पुट वाइज करना तो हमारा काम है। वी आर सपोज टू
जी
पुट हिम वाइज। इफ ही इज अनएबल टू प्रोवाइड यू द रिक्वायरमेंट, वी विल एलिसिट इंफॉर्मेशन समहाउ फ्रॉम हिम। वो तो हमारा जॉब है ही है।
जी।
तो अब उसमें उसमें क्या डाउट है?
लेकिन कभी ऐसा होता है ना कि हमने रिक्वायरमेंट तो हमने, लेकिन कुछ ऐसी चीज होती है हम कहते हैं हम जिसको हम कहते हैं कि हम ये अपने लेवल पे कर रहे हैं, फिर हमें बता देते हैं कि हम जो है वो ये जो हम इस तरह कर रहे हैं, मतलब हम अपने लेवल पे डिसीजन ले लेते हैं और फिर स्टेक होल्डर को ऑन बोर्ड लेते हैं कि ये जो है वो आपने ये तो बताया था मगर इस तरह नहीं, इस तरह हो सकता है।
हाँ लेकिन स्टेक होल्डर को कितनी देर से ऑन बोर्ड लेंगे? जब प्रोजेक्ट खत्म होगा या फौरन?
नहीं नहीं, बीच में मतलब स्टार्ट करने से पहले, डिलीवरेबल से पहले, डेफिनेटली बनाने से पहले ना।
हाँ वो तो ठीक है, मगर ये है कि ये जब भी कभी आप ये फैसला कर लें, जब आपको ये हो जाए आप,
हेलो
तो इसको आप जी जी आ रही है आवाज? हेलो?
हेलो सर, आई लॉस्ट योर वॉइस एक्चुअली।
जी अभी आ रही है?
हेलो। जी अब आ रही है।
ओके। मैं ये कह रहा था कि जब भी आपको इस बात का यकीन हो जाए कि कोई तब्दीली है तो स्टेक होल्डर को ऑन बोर्ड लेना पड़ेगा। ये आप नहीं कह सकते खुद से हमने फैसला कर लिया और बाद में बताएंगे। मेरा मतलब है एज सुन एज, ये तो आपकी तरफ से सजेशन है कि इसको ऐसे कर लीजिए।
हम्म
स्टेक होल्डर है या अगर स्टेक होल्डर नहीं भी इन्वॉल्व तो आपका जो कोई बॉस है, आपको वो चीज बतानी पड़ेगी उसको।
हम्म।
उसके बगैर मतलब आप खुद से कोई फैसला नहीं ले लेंगे, बाद में वो
हाँ
मसला
जी।
खड़ा होगा।
जी जी जी, खुद से तो फैसला नहीं ले सकते,
या
लेकिन हमें बताने जरूर पड़ती।
अब दूसरी बात है कि ये वाला काम जो हम कर रहे हैं, ये रिक्वायरमेंट्स उससे लेने का की बात कर रहे हैं। ये जो हम जो भी प्लान बना रहे हैं ना इस वक्त, ये बुनियादी तौर पे
जी।
बिजनेस एनालिसिस का काम, जो वर्क है बिजनेस एनालिसिस का, उसको करने का प्लान है। बात समझ आइए आपको? इट इज नॉट द प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजमेंट प्लान, इज द बिजनेस एनालिसिस वर्क प्लान।
सही सही।
तो उसको उस पर्सपेक्टिव में देखिए, तरीका तकरीबन वही है जो प्रोजेक्ट वाला है, लेकिन वो मैंने पहले भी कहा था कि बिजनेस प्लान मुख्तलिफ चीज है और प्रोजेक्ट प्लान मुख्तलिफ चीज है। ऑल्दो
लेकिन जब हम डिलीवरीज होंगी, जो रिक्वायरमेंट्स होंगी, वो फिर हम बताएंगे ना। प्रोजेक्ट प्लान तो फिर प्रोजेक्ट मैनेजर उसके हिसाब से करेगा,
हाँ
जब
बिल्कुल।
हम फिर
लेकिन
बताएंगे रिक्वायरमेंट्स।
डेटा आप कैसे उठा रहे हैं, डेटा को एनालाइज आप कैसे कर रहे हैं, फाइनल रिक्वायरमेंट्स आप क्या कर रहे हैं, फिर उनको चेक कराएंगे कस्टमर के साथ, कस्टमर विल एग्री टू दैट एंड ओनली देन दैट विल बी फाइनलाइज्ड।
हम्म।
वो जो आपने कहा ना कि खुद से कोई फैसला, तो खुद से फैसला करने की हमें जरूरत नहीं है। जो भी
सही
हम
सही।
सजेस्ट करेंगे वो एग्री करवाएंगे। रिक्वायरमेंट है ना जी, तो रिक्वायरमेंट डलवा
जी
लेंगे,
जी जी। हाँ हाँ।
उसमें रिक्वायरमेंट डलवा लेंगे।
सही।
वंस द बिजनेस एनालिसिस डिलीवरेबल tasks and activities and required resources for completing the work are known, the information is assembled in a plan that clearly depicts the timing of the work and any dependencies. This is a point of integration between business analysis and project management. The business analyst and project manager need to agree on the level of detail needed for the project management plan. The level of detail maintained in the project management plan can vary based on a number of factors, minimally depending upon complexity of the business analysis effort, size of the project, amount of the business analysis work being tracked, and type of project life cycle. The business analysis work plan may be included within the business analysis plan along with the other planning decisions or organizational preferences, and the selected project life cycle can influence the approach used to document and communicate the work plan. Let's have a look. Okay, just have a look at this table. This is a sample business analysis plan where what we have done is in the first column is our task name, and second column is the resource, and third column is the level of effort. So the use case diagrams is assigned to S. Bhomak, and the level of effort is 34 hours. So this man alone will do it. But now, once we talk about use case specifications, then we are going to be giving out all the use cases. Here in Agile, we call it user stories. Here we have the use cases. So what is
ओके।
the use case one? For use case one, for picking up the first requirement, you have to interview the subject matter experts. You have to draw the use case, review the use case, refine the use case, and ultimately approve the use case. Similarly, use case two is the resource person is E. Salmon. So the same, all the same use case activities are done, and the time is shown against each. Similarly, use case three, who is responsible? In the last two tasks in use case 3, it says refine and approve use case is unassigned, but this will take this much time. So these small little tables, which are not very complex at all, can be very useful in making certain high level decisions. Document the rationale for business analysis approach. So just like in project management, we establish our approach for doing the project and then we get it approved from the management. Here also, we are document the rationale. We have already come up with the rationale for business analysis. We are convinced this is to be done. So here, let us decide life cycle and all that. Documenting the basis for the decisions made during the planning effort helps to reduce uncertainty. Sharing the rationale with the stakeholders provides assurance that the plan is thought out and purposeful. For the project team, understanding the rationale behind the chosen business analysis approach provides context and helps answer questions regarding why the work is being conducted and why it is being performed in a specific manner. Then is the business analysis plan, along with the documented rationale, provides valuable information for future project teams. When business analysis work is being planned for a new project, review post plans and lesson learned. This is assist within the project work and allow analysis decisions to be based on experience. A center of business analysis practice may help to formalize the collection and storage of these assets, but for organizations that do not operate a center, an informal process for storing this information is shared in the repository served of the project of the organization. Then is review the business analysis plan you created with the key stakeholders. As I said, you remember your question. If there is any change, we are going back to the key stakeholders. You see, the review the business analysis plan and key stakeholders. Once the business analysis plan is completed, the business analyst reviews the plan with the key project stakeholders. Reviewers reviews are conducted in person, however, when stakeholders are distributed in different geographic locations. A collaborative approach may be used that allows stakeholders to raise questions and receive direct feedback to their concerns. The objective for the review is to reduce the risk to stakeholders failing to support business analysis activities when the work begins. Stakeholders need to be comfortable with their role in the process, be aware of their time commitment to participate in the work, and understand how decisions about requirements to portfolio and changes are handled. Conducting these discussions upfront helps to obtain buy-in early. As soon as you are involved, you are supposed to be knowing about the project much earlier. These should be sufficient stakeholder involvement during these reviews to ensure stakeholder needs are adequately addressed. When stakeholders feel a sense of ownership about the processes, they are more likely to demonstrate a high level of interest and remain poor engagement. So the person who is trying to fix the thing, he will bring all his machinery with it. Can I have a break about 5 minutes?
No, sir, I understand that we discuss what we discussed earlier. I think this slides, shows what we
Right.
actually discussed earlier.
Yeah. So let's have a break for 5 minutes. I'll just go and take some water.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I'm back.
जी सर.
Okay, ji. Okay, the next topic is uh, 3.5.5, review the business analysis plan with key stakeholders. As I was saying, once we create this plan, now we are supposed to be sharing it with the key stakeholders. So once business analysis plan is completed, the business analyst reviews the plan with the key project stakeholders. Reviews are conducted in person. However, when stakeholders are distributed in different geographical locations, a collaborative approach may be used that allows stakeholders to raise questions and receive direct feedback to their concerns. So this is important that we share it with the key stakeholders and take one-to-one feedback on that. The objective for the review is to reduce the risk of stakeholders failing to support business analysis activities when the work begins. This is exactly what I was saying. How can you decide something when the stakeholder is not involved? You can't decide anything. Stakeholder will have to be taken into confidence. Otherwise, this conflict will exist. Stakeholders need to be comfortable with their role in the process, but be aware of the time commitment to participate in the process and understand how decisions about requirement priorities and changes are handled. Conducting these discussions upfront helps to obtain buy-in early and minimizes the risk of stakeholder conflict when the activities are underway. There should be sufficient stakeholder involvement during these reviews to ensure stakeholder needs are adequately addressed. When stakeholders feel a sense of ownership about the process, they are more likely to demonstrate a higher level of interest and remain more engaged in the business analysis activities. The review process is a way to reduce the possibility of overlooking a stakeholder characteristic, concern, or limitation that could negatively influence the business analysis process. Reviews can reveal areas where stakeholders are confused or unclear about the requirements related activities. Reviews sometimes uncover unknown risks such as a shortage of resources, schedule conflicts, or concern over assigned roles. So, this is just an elaborate discussion on getting the stakeholders involved when it is the time for reviewing the business analysis plan. And that is exactly what we were discussing already. And this is enough reason for us not to ignore any stakeholders. Key stakeholders in the business analysis activities should be invited to participate in the review process. For example, those having responsibility for approving, prioritizing, and validating requirements. Now, what he is going to talk about is more the high priority stakeholders. So, these stakeholders who can approve or prioritize or validate the requirements, they are specially to be considered. Then the responsibility for a role in the change control process. Such a stakeholder should also be included. Management responsibility for staff participating in the requirement activities and responsibilities of serving as a subject matter expert on the project. So all these people have to be taken into confidence. Additionally, the project sponsor, project manager, and the lead person who represent the interest of the downstream recipient of the requirements, such as the software development manager, quality assurance manager, and training manager, should be included. Now is the time to obtain approval for the business analysis plan. You have already reviewed it, shared it, and now is the time to obtain the approval of the business analysis plan. The business analysis plan may need to be revised to accommodate the feedback received from stakeholders. So once we were reviewing it with the stakeholders, they might have come up with a number of arguments, some changes suggested. So we must have made necessary corrections as if we can get this document approved. All stakeholders' concerns may not be actionable, especially when the request imposes a risk to the project or reduces the effectiveness or quality of the business analysis process. The business analyst works through the issues raised and facilitates resolution in order to avoid discouraging or disengaging stakeholders. So we have to keep them happy. If at all we are not able to fulfill any of their requirements, that must be explicitly told to them that this specific requirement which you had given, we are unable to fulfill it, maybe because it is outside of the scope of this project. Once all concerns are resolved, the business analyst takes steps to obtain approval on the plan. Obtaining approval on the plan helps to reduce the following project risks. So what are they? Stakeholders do not support the business analysis process once it started. So you see, this is my concern. Stakeholders suddenly stop their support after the business analysis process has been completed. So, analysis process has started and stakeholder has withdrawn his support. Project team underestimates the amount of time that business analysis activities will take. Funding allocated to the requirements phase of the project is inadequate. Key stakeholders underestimate the level of involvement or participation necessary for the requirement activities. Key resources are unavailable to participate in requirement activities when required. Stakeholder expectations with regard to how requirements are documented and communicated are missed. Approval may be formal and require a signature, or may not be formal and only require verbal acceptance. There may be an organizational process that defines how this approval should be attained, but when a process does not exist, the practitioner or project team should define the process. It is recommended to obtain approval from the sponsor and key stakeholders, such as the subject matter experts who will be participating in the requirements activities, or anyone who approves requirements or participates in change activities. Once the business analysis plan is approved, updates to the plan should be made in a controlled fashion. When the project uses an adaptive life cycle, the team may forego a formal review and approval process, since in this case much of the planning would have occurred as a result of extensive team dialogue and collaboration, and we do not want to waste so much time. So this brings us to the end of planning. Any questions about planning?
No, sir. I think this section was hello.
Gigi?
Ji, sir. Sir, planning was, I think, was easy as
Mm-hmm.
compared to need assessment,
Mm,
and I think it is short and very to the point and very much
exactly.
uh easy.
So let me switch to the next presentation. I will just take about 5 minutes and just hold on. I'll change the slide and I'll get back to you.
Yes, sir. So do we need these slides are enough to study, or some will you refer some books, or
You see, as I said in the beginning, there are three books. Number one, PMI Guide to Business Analysis. Number two, Practice Guide for Business Analysis, and Practice Guide for third is Practice Guide for Requirement Management. So
Mm-hmm.
all of these three books are available in the PDF format, and I have uploaded it there. I think you would have seen that. Did you get these books?
So no, sir, I did not see that. I only saw these slides in the over here
Let me
in the
let me
document. Sir.
Let me.
We have only slides.
Okay, let me
We
see.
don't have any.
Let me see that, and I will. If they are not there, I'll just put them there.
No, sir, I don't have any books over in this section. We have only the slides.
Mhm. What I shared with you was PMI PBA folder. There are two folders in that. One is BA articles and books, and the other is PBA presentation. Did you not get
Mm-hmm.
the whole link?
No, sir.
Okay, I will.
I think only in mail or something.
Yeah, I'll just put it in the chat, and you click on that. Just a moment.
Yes, sir.
Should I send it by email?
Yes, sir. You can send me by email. That will be easier.
Okay. Can you just read out your email address?
Yes, sir. Bushra Bushra
Hmm.
Batul BATOOL 09 at gmail.com.
At gmail.com. Bushrabatul09 at gmail.com. Okay, just a moment. Yeah. The email has just been sent, and in a while you will get this link. And let me see what books are there. Okay, there are a number of books here, but let me put other books also in it. Actually, this material I placed there is quite a bit old one. This is business analysis.
Sir, if you could send me the file which we discussed, in which we discussed the example, it was related to the project management.
Mhm.
But you told me that you will send me the file where we discuss an example of what is that called in the need assessment when we were doing the need assessment,
Mhm.
where we discuss some example of, I don't remember the name.
If you could remind me, I'm also not remembering that right now.
Where we discuss the example of wait, let me check. SOT and SWOT analysis, where we done, some example, and we discuss the project management. You pull up the project management file.
Okay, 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 okay. I'll just do that. Uh, Let me first. I have located the further books. That was. Did I send you the PBA files we have so far created?
Sir, I think you told me it is in the present, in the software. So I downloaded from software. I don't know, are they updated or not?
Which? Okay, okay.
We
Downloaded
have,
from there.
I don't know, they are the updated one or.
Okay, I'm also going to copy these files. Okay, so far, except for today, all the lectures I'm copying into a folder by the name of lectures. The folder you will get PMI PBA that has got three subfolders in it. One is about the books, one is the lectures, and one is going to be the presentations. Oh, they're already there, yeah. Okay, I'm just putting on the scope presentation. If I think what we discussed was from that presentation. If at all, uh, that is the one to let me know as if I can copy it there. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, I think we have some. Let me. I think there is one document over here. I am feeling that the PMI PBA handbook. I
Hmm.
think this it has this. I think you have this. You already added the document over here.
Yeah, I added it. But right now you will not find all the files because they are being uploaded right now. The
Okay.
files are being uploaded. I'm just trying to find the SWOT analysis thing you told me.
I think, sir, maybe, but I remember that this you uploaded this file.
Hmm.
After that, maybe this file will have this. I will, that
Hmm.
example, I'm sure, because you told me that I will update this file in the document section. This is
Hmm.
PMI, after our discussion, after our class. So I
Okay.
think this is the exact file where we discuss which is in this software, where we discuss the example.
Okay. Identifying SWOT analysis was in identifying. Okay. That must be in risk. The email is bushrabatul09@gmail.com.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm sending you the PMP presentations also. So this must be there somewhere. So I'm sending all of the PMP presentations. You can locate it from there as well.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so next, let us start the next chapter. I think you have got all the material and you can look through it. Subsequently, the other files will also be added to that. Right. So
Okay.
our next chapter is
Yes,
requirement
sir.
elicitation and analysis.
Mm-hmm.
This is the fourth chapter of the book, and the contents of this requirement elicitation and analysis is, first of all, there's a little overview of the section. Then we'll talk about what does it mean by eliciting the information. Then how do you plan the elicitation effort? How do you prepare for elicitation? How do you conduct elicitation activities? Documents outputs from the elicitation activities. Then how do you complete elicitation process? What are the issues and challenges in elicitation? Then are the analysis requirements, model and refine your requirements, document the solution requirement, validate the requirement, verify the requirements, approval sessions, and ultimately resolve requirements related conflicts. So this is all about requirement elicitation and analysis. First of all, the purpose of that. Requirement elicitation and analysis is the iterative work, and you will keep doing the elicitation as you are doing the business analysis, because stakeholders keep changing their requirements and we have to keep digging in for more requirements all the time. Until and unless the plan is complete, we'll keep doing that iteratively. And why do you do that? This iterative work. It is to plan, prepare, and conduct the elicitation of information from the stakeholders. We want to elicit as much information as possible. And then once we have done that, then we analyze that and document it into proper requirements, the result of that work, and eventually define a set of requirements in sufficient detail to enable the definition and selection of the preferred solution. Because we want to suggest a solution when without having the detailed requirements, we cannot do that. Therefore, first we elicit the information, then we analyze and document it, and finally convert it into requirements as if we can suggest a preferred solution. With requirement elicitation and analysis, business analysts use a number of elicitation techniques and apply a number of analysis models. So two things we are doing. First, we are using the elicitation techniques to collect the information, and then we are using the analysis models for analysis and documentation. And this is all to support the elicitation and analysis activities. What it means to elicit information. Now, you must listen very carefully. The common approach to obtaining requirement information is through elicitation. Requirement elicitation is the activity of drawing out information from stakeholders and other sources. You remember I mentioned it before that this is not simple data gathering, collection of requirements. This is not it. Because collection of requirements means that the other party, the stakeholder, is sitting ready to give you the data and you are just going there to collect the information. So you suppose that stakeholder has got everything ready. But what we really mean to do is that we want to dig out and even read the mind of the stakeholder. What is at the back of his mind? We want to scratch that information out of that person's mind. So it is drawing out the information from stakeholders, just not collecting it. And maybe we can use other sources also. If it is not from stakeholders, maybe we learn something from environment. We learn something from a third party about the requirements of this stakeholder. So we will be digging deeper to find all the possible requirements. In business analysis, it involves eliciting information about the causes of a business problem. are the reasons for addressing a current opportunity, as well as the information that will eventually be used to derive a sufficient level of requirements. That is, to enable solution development and implementation. We are repeating the same thing. We want the solution to be developed and implemented. And as I said earlier, we cannot do the development of the solution until and unless the requirements are clear and properly documented. Elicitation is more than requirement collection or gathering, which I have just mentioned in front of you. So, the elicitation process is more than collecting and gathering requirements. The terminology collecting or gathering requirement implies that stakeholders already have the requirement ready to be collected or gathered. Requirements are not ready and waiting in the stakeholder's mind or in documents within the business community. While stakeholders may not have actual requirements, they do often have wants and needs. However, they may not be able to express them clearly. They may know there is a problem, but they may not know exactly what the problem is. They may want to take advantage of an opportunity, but not know how to get started. Part of the business analyst's job is to help the stakeholders define the problem or opportunity and determine what should be done to address it. The elicitation process helps facilitate this work. Some stakeholders may not even know their needs. For example, a startup organization exploring potential opportunities may not have any idea of what to ask for. In this case, the business analysis process supports the discovery practices by eliciting and validating unknown needs. Stakeholders have information that is valuable to the business analyst, but the information is not necessarily in the form of a requirement that is ready and waiting to be collected. I hope this point is very clear to you.
सर अगर हम उसको डिस्कस कर लें तो
जी,
एक दफा ना उसका वर्क इंट्रोडक्शन ताकि हमें इजी हो जाए कि ये नो कि
जी,
ये
जी,
वैसे तो समझ आ रहा है ये वो चीज है कि हम जो हमें बहुत सी स्टेक होल्डर से हम उसको से बात कैसे निकलवाएं
जी,
उसने
जी, जी,
रिक्वायरमेंट बता दी लेकिन बहुत से जो क्लियरली वो एक्सप्लेन नहीं कर पाता
जी,
या उसके कोई पॉइंट्स बता नहीं पाता वो तो हम उसको निकलवाएं कैसे उससे
एग्जैक्टली,
डिस्कस कैसे करें
बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल। जो वो नहीं एक्सप्रेस नहीं कर पाता या उसको पता नहीं है, उसके बैक ऑफ द माइंड में है, या फॉर दैट मैटर वो रियलाइज ही नहीं कर रहा कि उसके पास ये इंफॉर्मेशन है और उसके दिमाग में कि हमने किस तरह से निकलवानी है, उसका प्रॉब्लम क्या है, उसका छोटा मोटा एनालिसिस करना पड़ता है उसकी सराउंडिंग्स का, उसके माहौल का। और मिसाल के तौर पे आप कहते हैं जी मेरे से चाबी गुम हो गई है, तो मतलब मैं ये एनालाइज करूँ, आप एम्पैथी करूँ, सोचूंगे आप कहाँ से गुजर के आई हैं और चाबी कहाँ गिर सकती है, तो मैं उस सारे एरिया को सर्च करूँ, वहां से चाबी ढूंढ के लाऊं। दिस इज आई एम एलिसिटिंग द इंफॉर्मेशन। अगर तो चाबी आपके पास तैयार पड़ी होती और मैं उठा के ले आता तो दैट वाज कलेक्शन आर गैदरिंग। बट मैं अभी आपकी इस हद तक मदद कर रहा हूं कि आप जो नहीं बता सकती या नहीं दे सकती वो चीज भी मैं आपसे किसी तरह से निकलवा लूं। जी,
जी सर
क्लियर है ना ये बात? तो
जी सर बिल्कुल क्लियर है
फिर है जी इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ द एलिसिटेशन इंफॉर्मेशन। The results of elicitation are a core input for business analysis work because it's all about the requirements, and the better elicitation I do, better requirements I'll be able to collect and better business analysis will be done. Information is not only elicited to generate requirements or answer questions from the solution team, but the information becomes the basis to effectively complete other business analyst tasks. वो क्या काम है? What we need to do as a business analyst, support executive decision making. Or the data we collect may be helpful in for executives to make certain decisions, and I can provide that information for executives just from the archive of information I have elicited the information from. Apply influence successfully. using the argument from the elicited data, I can probably influence someone to apply that. Assist in negotiation or mediation. Naturally, I am wiser, I know the details, I can pitch my point and negotiate and mediate and let the stakeholder agree on that. Because stakeholder was unable to express himself, I have somehow found the answer to his problem, and now I am trying to convince him that this is what he wanted. And I have to get approval from the stakeholder or agreement on that. If there is any conflict, I can probably resolve the conflict also. And I am in a better condition now to define the problem. And naturally, I have the argument and I can convince again. It is a matter of convincing. As far as supporting the executive decision making is concerned, provides supporting information to the executive who are making strategic decisions about the direction of the organization. Considering that all such strategic decisions are business based, the business analyst objectively obtains the information necessary for these decisions to be made. You see, now the information is available, and business analyst has just to obtain that information for that decision. Apply influences successfully. Influences to enable the completion of the work. Business analysts have no vested authority, therefore, they should use influence in order to get things done. Influence is more successful when it is backed with information that supports the goal. So, if I am armed with the information, I can use it as a power to influence others successfully. Assist in negotiation and mediation. Negotiates on behalf of the project team, management, or business. In all such negotiations, the business analyst first elicits information and understands the motivations and or goals of all sides in the conflict and then negotiates based on principle or objective facts. Resolve conflict. Provides information necessary to resolve conflicts. Business analysts are often brought in to resolve conflict or to serve as direct mediators for the project manager or business manager. Conflict is generally resolved with information because conflict in business is usually the result of misinformation or assumptions based on a lack of information. Define problems. Provides the information to identify the real problem. The business analyst provides this information by identifying and analyzing the business processes that need improvement over the course of the analysis. If we fail to elicit, what does it mean? Failing to elicit, meaning we are unable to extract the data out of the stakeholder. Failing to elicit enough information can result in erroneous conclusions and an increased number of assumptions. If we do not have data, what do? We assume, and assumption is a risk. It stands for a risk. Therefore, we will try our level best to elicit as much information as possible, as if we have to take lesser number of assumptions, and thus we do not come to wrong conclusions. But again, too much information may also hinder the team's ability to move forward. And what did I say about it? This is called paralysis through analysis. You are over analyzing things, and therefore you are unable to move forward. You are stuck in your analysis. So do not get paralyzed by overdoing it. The art of elicitation is to obtain enough information to be able to validate requirements. Enough information means that not more than what is required and not less than what is required. Only the appropriate quantity of information must be obtained or elicited. And how do you do this? Uh, this you do through a process of learning in order to confirm that the project team is delivering the right solution. So you are actually learning in the process, and you are confirming that project team is delivering the right solution. So if they are not delivering the right solution, you have to go back to the stakeholder and try to elicit more information, as if this key performance indicator you have observed, which is not performing, is a clear indication that the requirements are not correct and you need more information. Next topic is plan for elicitation. So now here we are planning for elicitation, and then we'll move on with the other things. Requirement elicitation. Some planning for elicitation occurred during the construction of the business analysis plan. We have already created the business analysis plan. Some information we had already listed, but now specifically we are getting into the detailed requirement elicitation. So business analysis did see some of the elicitation, but more detailed elicitation will be here in this process. Because planning is iterative, other planning is performed closer to when the activities are ready to begin. Prior to elicitation, the business analyst begins to focus on more specific details such as how to conduct elicitation, which stakeholders to involve, which order to schedule elicitation sessions. So all of this will be made clear. A well thought out approach to elicitation provides the following benefits: clearer idea of the necessary information to define a problem, affect an improvement, or to produce a solution. So basically, I want to have a clear picture, and that can only be elicited with as much information as is possible in that time frame which is available to us. So within the limits of the available time, we should do detailed analysis. Should not overshoot it. Fewer unnecessary elicitation activities. So we do not want to do unnecessary work, unnecessary elicitation activities. We are just interviewing the people to get to know them. How are you and how many children do you have? So such like information may not be required. So keep it simple to what is required. More valuable results from each elicitation session will be obtained. More efficient and predictable use of stakeholder time to elicit the information. This is the art of elicitation, that you should be able to do it most economically, most efficiently and effectively. Better overall focus on the entire elicitation process. Now, this is the plan, and now is the develop. How do you develop a elicitation plan? This will be just like a management plan in which you will define how the elicitation will take place. So an elicitation plan is a device used by business analysts to help formulate ideas about how to structure the elicitation activities. The plan is not a formal document and does not take a lot of time to create. It can be documented or can be thought process used to prepare for the forthcoming elicitation effort. The work needed to create a elicitation plan involves thinking through how to best coordinate and conduct elicitation across a project. What are the elements of the elicitation plan? Some of the elements of an elicitation plan include what information to elicit, as I said. So that means what does the business analyst need to know in order to define the problem, solve the problem, or answer the question. So basically, business analyst is going to be answering a question or providing you a solution. So first for defining the problem, then solving the problem and answering the question. For these three purposes, we must clearly define what information is to be elicited. We should not be wasting time on unnecessary information, as I said before. Where to find that information? We should know that. Where is that information located? In what document? In what uh, archive, if it is in database? From what source it has come, and in whose mind this information is available. So identify who has the information and where it is located. Jot it down, document this detail, and keep updating it, because whenever you will require the data from that stakeholder, you can get back to that person and get the data out. How to obtain this information? What method will be used to acquire the information from the source? So this is a big question. What is the exact method you are going to be using? And we will be talking it subsequently. Then sequencing the elicitation activities. In what order should the elicitation activities be sequenced to acquire the needed information? Next is finding the information. finding the information. Sources of information may be an individual the business analyst plans to elicit information from, B, a model, or C, other documented references. Individuals, which is A in the elicitation plan, should be identified by role rather than by name. So we are not really interested who exactly the name of that stakeholder is, but whomsoever is the source, I should know what is the appointment or position of that person in the organization. When information cannot be provided by individuals, only then the business analyst should consider leveraging basic element of the enterprise architecture when one exists. Components within the enterprise architecture often contain reusable artifacts such as process flows, logical data models, business rule models, and business domain models, etc. It is a good practice to try to identify at least two sources for each topic or question to be explored during elicitation in order to avoid proposing any requirements or solution that is based on the opinion or information derived from a single source. What could be the technique for eliciting the information? There are several methods that are used to elicit information. Each technique has its own strengths and weaknesses. By understanding a variety of techniques, the business analyst has sufficient information to know which technique is best to be used. Formal elicitation methods are planned and structured, while informal methods are typically unplanned and unstructured. So, for the purpose of listing of commonly and used elicitation techniques, let's move on to section 4.5.5. So, we'll discuss that there. As far as the sequencing of the elicitation activities are concerned, you see, for any two activities which have a relationship or one depends upon the other, we must have a source or the type of dependency it has. So in this diagram, it shows you the completed elicitation plan. This is the elicitation plan. First question was how many employees will be moved. The source is HR. HR is asking that question. The answer to that we can find only through the interview method. So you go and interview those people and then jot it down and then make it possible. In sequence, the order of this activity of this information is the second one. The first one is what is the physical layout of both building or in which building they are. Building plans and facilities should be known. You must know where the ducting is in the building and where are the pipes passing and all that. So it can be done through document analysis, which may give you the correct information. And moreover, we can also use interviewing here as well. What equipment will be used? Maybe IT people, they will tell you that. All the facilities and executive VPs can also help you on that. But what do we do with them? We only do the meeting because stakeholder is going to be involved at the end of the process. Then, shall we move in all at once or in a phased approach? Again, HR involvement. Again, we conduct interviews with all those people. It is not a wastage of time. You might be thinking that we have already come here and now it is a new story. Now this time the story is different. Is it possible to move people in before the building is completely done? For this question, the source might be from the legal or HR or facilities, and the answer is the method is meeting, and the priority is number 5. So this is by this chart, I am able to find which is the first work in sequence, which is second, which is third, which is fourth, and which is fifth. Taking them one by one, prepare for elicitation. Elicitation preparation may be formal or informal. Elicitation preparation is the planning performed to conduct an effective elicitation session. The business analyst may create informal preparation notes to organize and to help facilitate the session. Preparation notes can be used to measure the progress achieved in a session against what was planned to be achieved and can be used to adjust expectations for future sessions. Then within this prepare for elicitation, the first thing is determine the objectives. To ensure elicitation activities are effectively performed, the business analyst should set an objective for each session to achieve. The objective is the reason why the elicitation activity is being undertaken. Each session should provide some value and benefit to justify the time it takes to obtain the needed information. Then you determine the participants, who all are the stakeholders from whom you have to collect this data. At the completion of stakeholder analysis, the business analyst should have divided the long list of stakeholders identified into groups or classes. The result of the stakeholder analysis can be used when selecting participants to invite to an elicitation session. If additional stakeholders were uncovered after the stakeholder analysis was completed, the business analyst should update the stakeholder register to ensure that no stakeholder group overlooked and factor in elicitation time for those new groups. Then is to determine the question for the season for the session. When the objective of the elicitation activity suggests using interviews, focus groups, facilitated workshops, or other techniques used to elicit information directly from stakeholders. The business analyst may want to prepare some questions prior to conducting the elicitation in our month. The business analyst should know the rationale for each question and be able to explain why a question is important, to whom, and why it is being asked. Questions that do not move the session forward to achieving the desired objectives are those questions that obtain data that do not have a specific purpose should be avoided. Whatever cue you are taking, take it from a reliable source. Now, in this example, this is an example of preparation notes for an elicitation session to discuss an office move. The objective was come to agreement on what equipment will be moved. The participants are director of IT operation, director of this, director of that. So all of these people are working under the organizational objective. And later on, we can test your knowledge with the help of a questionnaire. Maybe any number of frequency can be taken. In question, the question in figure 4.1 are in no particular order. The business analyst may organize the questions with easy, not threatening question of the beginning and end. When the more challenging, complex, or contentious questions in the middle of the session, doing so helps the group make progress in the sessions early before needing to address the changing question, as well as ensuring the session ends on a positive note. Elicitation preparation may be formal and informal depending on the preference of the business analyst. Preparation rights are solely for the benefit of the business analyst to ensure elicitation is facilitated effectively. Conduct elicitation activities. There are 4 stages during an actual elicitation activity in which information is gathered. Number 1, introduction, then is the body, then is the close, and then is the follow-up. This is probably the most used model, the simple model. So after having provided an introduction, you ask the people around you to contribute for the sake of whatever the truck has already gone. The body is where the questions are asked and the answers are given. So this is just like a superstore, and here we can deal with those questions. Body of the content. The body is where the questions are asked and answers are being given. Close. The this closes close provides a graceful termination for the particular session with Shadni or Ezra. Follow-up. The following follow-up is where the information is consolidated and confirmed with the participant and what are they conducted in the form of an interview, workshop, or focus group. Provides a list of techniques that may be used to conduct elicitation. So the introduction to this thing. During the introduction, the business analyst establishes the frame for the session and sets the tone and rapport with the participants. The frame is created at the beginning of each session by starting that problem and by providing an overview of the session objective. So you can always do that. The business analyst should consider use of parking lot as a tool to keep participants on track. Parking lot are used to minimize tracking, derailing, or hijacking of the meeting by the stakeholders. Now, what is the body then? The body of the elicitation session is where the business analyst soft skills come into play: active listening, empathy, body language, selection of questions to ask, sequencing of questions, influencing skills, etc. Most of them are in-house within the nurse. So if people are well educated here, the people attending these sessions would definitely benefit. Then is the body. The body of a elicitation session is where the business analyst soft skills come from come into play, like this I have already told you: listening, empathy, body language, direction, etc., etc. Moving from the introduction to the body ideally shows the a seamless transition. Handed over, the participants should notice the shift to the more challenging questions and should continue to answer questions. The body is the portion of the session where momentum is built, but that is only till everybody is online. What are the types of questions you can ask? So far, so good.
Sir, first of all, I want to ask whatever the question is, basically, it is all related to our intelligence and what we need to ask, what is missing, right?
Right.
Secondly, why we need a body language, how it
No, 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 no.
impacts, it is only defined.
We do not need a body language. You see, you look back in school, what were you taught? If you have to write an essay, you said the first portion is supposed to be an introduction, then comes the main body,
Mhm.
and then comes the conclusion. This is the body. We are not talking about body language. Is it okay? Yeah, are you there? Yeah, are you there?
Sir, now I can listen.
Okay. Okay. So now we are talking about the types of questions which can be asked. You see, you might have read it somewhere. We can ask a number of types of questions. One category is open-ended questions and closed-ended questions. Open-ended question is, I ask you, how are you? Or where had you gone? So the answer would be a lengthy question answer, and this could be a quite different answer from if I ask the same question from different people. So one is saying I was going home, and another person says, well, I was here, I did not go anywhere. So you see, open-ended question is which could be the respondent could show his desire, and a question that allows the respondent to answer in any way they desire. You understand my point?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Closed-ended question is in which you give certain options to the candidate and he can only answer within those options. Maybe yes and no, maybe a scale of 1 to 5. So whatever the question that calls for a response from a limited list of answer choices. Types of closed-ended questions are forced choice, limited choice, and confirmation. Confirmation is yes, no.
Okay. Okay.
So limited choices, you have just provided two or three choices, and fourth choices that you are, enticing the person to tick on something you desire. Contextual, then are two other types: contextual questions and context-free questions. Contextual questions, the question that requires an answer regarding the subject at hand, namely the problem domain or the proposed solution. So there is a context to that. A context-free question is the question that may be asked in any situation. Did you have a good night's sleep? So this I can ask in office. I can ask this question after office, in the morning, officially, unofficially, inside, outside. This is something which has no context. So context-free questions are also used as lead-ins to obtain information to define the solution.
Mhm.
How do I ask the right question? The right question is not known until after the question is answered and analyzed. There is no one right question that will provide the exact information that will generate the correct solution. In many cases, information that leads to the perfect solution arrives in pieces from many questions and many participants' responses. The more questions asked, the greater the chance to ask the right question. One way to know whether the right question were asked is to analyze the result of the elicitation and assess the outcomes to see if the objective of the session was achieved. Then is listening, and we have talked about active listening and all. The business analyst needs to employ active listening to capture all of the information that comes with each answer. Active listening is the act of listening completely with all senses. Active listening entails paraphrasing or reciting back what is heard to ensure an accurate understanding of what has been communicated. It involves suspending all judgment about what is being heard so that flows freely. When discrepancies in information are identified, the business analyst should not call attention to the discrepancy but instead continue to draw out after clarifying information through questions. One goal of active listening is to clear up discrepancies without raising the possibility of conflict. During elicitation, some stakeholders will not provide information that they believe the business analyst may already know. In these scenarios, the stakeholder may provide one only high-level answers to the question raised. Assuming that the business analyst understands the lower level details in order to gain the access to the specifics, the business analyst needs to communicate to the stakeholders that the information being provided is known, unknown, and needed. This all ensure the flow of information is provided. Then is the close. The close occurs at the end of an elicitation session. The purpose of the close is to wrap up the activities and focus on next steps. When elicitation conducted was in the form of a workshop, the business analyst may consider a rundown of the assignment of action times, so participants are aware of their responsibilities at the conclusion of the session when the elicitation session was conducted in the form of an interview. The business analyst provides direction to the interviewee regarding next steps. The close is always used to thank participants for their contribution and time. The three questions a business analyst may consider asking at the end of each elicitation session are as follows. Number one, do you have any additional questions? Is there anything we missed or anything that we should have missed? The business analyst may find that new questions emerge, ambiguities and contradictions surface, and clarify that was originally present turns to vagueness. This is not an uncommon outcome considering the large number of information that is relaying during an elicitation session. The questions that arise before analysis become the materials to help structure the objectives for the follow-up session. I think we should close it here, and remember next time we are on 4.5.4 follow-up.
Yes.
Any
Yes,
questions?
sir.
Any questions?
Sir, actually, this is just the start. What I understand that we are discussing this, but I have this question. We do not have separate sessions, separate meetings for this. We when we are working with this requirements that gathering, then
Mm,
in the last session we say if anything is left or something is
mm.
doing requirement gathering. It is when we are doing the requirement gathering. It is a part of that. We
Uh,
do not have any separate.
no, we have not yet collected all the requirements. Actually, we have right now started elicitation, and describes that once we will elicit the information, then we will be able to ultimately reach the requirements. So far, we have not done that. Previously, we have just
Okay,
planned for that.
okay. But when we do the requirement gathering, this is a part of that. We do not have any separate session and meeting like we discuss for it. Or do maybe some companies do that. I don't know.
Yes, of course, there could be any kind of session there. But if you look at, let me, okay, right. You see, once we were doing the need assessment, we were just
Mm-hmm.
trying to create a business case, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we were doing planning. We did not collect any
Mm-hmm.
information during planning,
Yes.
right? So we planned the next three steps. Number one, elicitation and analysis, how it will be traced and
Mm-hmm.
monitored, and how the solution will be evaluated. This whole plan
Or who
we
are
have
the
created.
stakeholders?
Yeah. In the
Yeah.
next step, in elicitation and analysis, we will do what? We will be collecting the information and we will be analyzing it. We'll putting on the
Okay.
model.
Mm-hmm.
Then we will be, once we have done that, then we will be tracing and monitoring the requirements. Requirement traceability metrics and all that will come into play. And once we have done
Okay.
that, then we will be in a position to ultimately do the solution evaluation, right? We will select a
Okay.
solution, and that solution will be evaluated. This is the last step. This is your fifth domain.
Okay. Okay.
So that's it for today, and we are meeting tomorrow, inshallah.
Sir, I have a question here. I can see one file for the need assessment, but in your folder we have two files.
Okay. That second file was slightly amended. Do you want me to put it there? Maybe we have.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Maybe we have amended it. Okay, I'm doing that. I'll put it there, and you can later on review all the files, and then we can
Okay,
discuss
sir.
tomorrow.
Yes, sir. And secondly, sir, have you uploaded shared me the links of the classes, lectures?
I have uploaded it here. They are being uploaded right now. And if you can't see
Mm-hmm.
them, can you see a folder by the name of lectures?
Sir, where?
Under PMI PBA, there are how many
Mm-hmm.
folders are there?
Let me. Okay, you are asking me for in this
Yeah,
drive or some or
yeah,
in
drive.
the
How many
on the
um, you know folders do you see?
materials. Materials.
Materials and presentations
Mm-hmm.
and lectures.
Okay, you are asking me for to check the drive, right?
Hmm. On one drive, what do you see?
Let me check this. Open. So just give me one moment. Let me open it. I can see lectures,
Hmm.
PMI PB presentations, BA articles, and books. I can see three folders,
Do you see lectures?
right?
Go into the lectures and see what
Yes. Let me open this folder. Yes, I can see the lectures folder,
what is inside.
and we have four, four. We have one, two, three, four, five, six lectures, and all are from April. The initial
These are
lectures we
these are
don't
your
have it.
lectures, which we talked, which we discussed.
Sorry, sir.
These are these lectures right here.
Sorry, sir.
I have uploaded the lectures which we communicated in these days. Right?
Okay. In which we discuss the
Actual
course.
lectures. Yeah, this course.
Okay.
So I will
Okay.
keep
Okay. Okay.
loading others into this, but I know it will take a lot of space. So I'll delete them later, but you can download it first.
Hmm.
They are unedited.
Yes, sir. I will download them because it will be helpful, you know. You were explaining how to take, proceed with the exams and all this. It will be
Exactly.
helpful.
Exactly. Exactly.